Greetings and welcome to the New York State Cybersecurity Conference. Thanks to the conference sponsors, the State Governor and CIO, and to Jessica Smith and organizing team. It is my privilege and pleasure to be here to share with you C4I-Cyber Command and Control Supremacy, why it's more critical than AI and quantum supremacy, and what you can do about it. Security in the post-COVID virtual era beyond data, beyond models and algorithms. The current third annual conference presentation shall advance upon my two other recent presentations at this same conference. Please feel free to download the PDF of the presentation from our personal homepage, yogeshmalhotra.com, or SSRN author page shown above. It will provide you with an interactive lifelong learning and applying by clicking on embedded hyperlinks. Today's presentation focuses on adversarial uncertainty to help you not only survive, but thrive in the most adversarial environments characterized by invisible enemy we all know as COVID-19. To ensure that you can see my whole screen, I will remove my face from the slides and I'll join you back in the Q&A session. Moving along. As Global Risk Management Network LLC, we take our mission of building global CEO, CXO digital practices and respective risk management and uncertainty management practices seriously, as global business technology media have recognized. Our latest US Air Force Research Lab Commercialization Academy Ventures, AML Exchange, and C4I-Cyber, for instance, focus on doing something epic, save the world, a serious issue. Our high-tech digital transformation focus on building resilient, sustainable systems started with the beta version of the first web browser with which we built world's first top digital site, top 3 search engine, and top 10 social network. And on top of it, we built the world's first, foremost, and largest global digital transformation network. Based on global word-of-mouth impact of our digital ventures, furthered our public service mission as the original digital social enterprise. For about 3 decades, we have advanced global digital practices, technologies, teams, and ventures powered by our global CEO, CXO networks of practice with our current focus on AI, quantum, and cyber crypto quant technologies. We create the digital future. That seems to be the most apt summary of what we do as we reflect back on a track record of last 3 decades. How we create the digital future for the adversarial uncertainty era was informed by choices made long ago at the beginning of the web, when we took the more interesting path not taken by most. While the world of business and technology practitioners, and in particular the academic world of IT textbooks, was focused at that time on IT for data management, we specifically chose to focus on change, uncertainty, and complexity management. All of us have heard the cliche, change is the only constant. However, in the post-web era, our observations about the rapidly evolving digital transformation world showed that change was not a constant. Rather, it was the most interesting variable presenting greatest opportunities and threats. Hence, while many chose to focus on managing data, we chose to focus on managing change, uncertainty, and complexity. My invited interviews, such as published by Fortune, Inc. and CEO Magazine, have highlighted the contrast that differentiates our approach and methodology. We continue to focus on gaps between business and technology, between data and knowledge, and between theory and practice, as Fortune wrote about in my interview. Reconciling the gaps between business and technology led us to coin the term BizTech, as reported by CIO Magazine, and a world's top digital site ranked by Computer World, as well as the largest global digital transformation network with millions of worldwide users. As the top world resource on self-adaptive complex systems, as ranked by Wall Street Journal and New York Times, amongst others, we recognized equally important roles of smart minds and smart tools powering digital advances, continuing onto our recent focus on AI and quantum computing. By being the first to obsolete what we know before being obsoleted by the competition, as Inc. magazine wrote about in my interview, we were emulated by others such as the DoD, Department of Defense Undersecretary, as well as the Defense Information Systems Agency, also known as DISA. Following my prior focus on change as the most interesting variable of interest and our explicit focus on creating the digital future, long ago, we advanced beyond prediction based on historical data to what we call anticipation of surprise. Subsequently, we saw our related R&D and practices applied by firms such as Goldman Sachs. The current slide shows recent headlines which the world of global business technology, defense, and finance is seeing right now. Specific developments include various kinds of systems failures resulting from cyber attacks or market crashes or adversarial warfare. Regardless of the domains and contexts, most cases of such systems failures can be seen as failure of respective command and control of such systems. One can see it in case of cyber and ransomware attacks such as MS Exchange, SolarWinds, and Continental Pipeline. One can also see it in case of COVID attack that overwhelms the individual's immune system such that it is not the virus that kills the victim, but the victim's own internal regulatory immune system that is accelerated into overdrive by the virus. So the focus of adversarial uncertainty is on quote unquote invisible enemy, which in the 9/11 style may not necessarily rely upon conventional weapons such as missiles, but on taking down the victims by disrupting and capturing their own command and control self-regulatory systems, such as of the planes crashing into the Twin Towers, as we all saw in case of 9/11. Data scientists are familiar with statistical models and methods to account for missing data, such as by using imputation. However, in the era of adversarial uncertainty, how does one account for manipulated data, poisoned data, and data that is often subject to multiple competing interpretations based on contradictory vested interests? Global and national COVID-19 headlines on data and models are representative examples in national and global headlines over the last year and the ongoing year as we see right now. Our latest Adversarial ventures focus on building systems resilience by advancing beyond traditional focus on command and control, C2, to adversarial command and control that we also call as AC2, and counter adversarial command and control we also call as abbreviated CAC2. Some of our contributions relate to advancing the US national defense command and control focus as conceptualized in the Advanced Battle Management System, also known as the acronym ABMS, and its related execution in terms of Joint All-Domain Command and Control, abbreviated as JADC2. By sharing our learnings from the most adversarial context of global national defense and space with respect to the great power competition, we hope to inform other global competitive contexts of nations, organizations, and individuals as and when they face diverse adversarial attacks, and to help them devise related risk management and risk engineering measures. Our journey of building global digital networks, practices, technologies, ventures, and teams spans digital to AI and quantum computing technologies. As a pioneer of knowledge management and virtual organizations, for instance, we built the world's first most influential virtual organization that published worldwide best practices on knowledge management. Described by the PwC Vice Chairman and CTO as our go-to resource in a Fast Company magazine interview, it was approached by the world's top digital marketing firm, Ogilvy, worldwide, to serve IBM's national digital KM campaign. Our latest April CA venture, EML Exchange, enables and advances global CO6O teams building latest digital ventures and practices in AI, machine learning, and deep learning. The related venture C4I-Cyber enables and advances risk engineering and risk management of such CEO, CXO digital ventures and practices. Adversarial uncertainty is being addressed through these two CEO, CXO networks, which we founded as US Air Force Research Lab Commercialization Academy Ventures. EML Exchange enables saving up to 90% time, cost, and resources in digital execution by CEO, CXO teams who want to know, build, monetize AI, machine learning, deep learning, cyber, crypto, and quantum computing technologies. C4I-Cyber, our other venture, is building command and control resilience and sustainability practices. Based on our cybersecurity, network security, and penetration testing programs development, we are advancing adversarial command and control and counter-adversarial command and control practices. We shall demonstrate these practices in the context of the DoD Joint Forces ABMS JAD C2. EML Exchange is the global high-tech digital CEO 606 network platform to enable global high-tech digital CEO 606 teams by accelerating business performance and minimizing execution risk. In knowing, building, monetizing global digital AML, DL, quant, cyber, crypto, and quantum practices, technologies, teams, and ventures. Since the beginning of the World Wide Web, invited to guide Silicon Valley VCs and CEOs, we have represented your survival network for the brave new world of business. Our focus was refined a decade ago while leading Wall Street investment banks and hedge funds with $1 trillion assets under management just after the global financial crisis. Our recent venture, EML Exchange, upped the global bar to quantum risk computing with related MIT and Princeton industry expert leadership and presentations, building related AML, DL, cyber, crypto, quantum risk computing practices, which are of current focus. As global industry pioneer of digital transformation and digital assets, we invite global CEOs, CXOs to know beyond past data to future decisions, actions, and outcomes. To build digital enterprises to manage risk, uncertainty, and complexity, and to monetize value and impact focused digital assets and ventures. The quality guru Edward Deming once said, "In God we trust, everyone else brings data." In the adversarial uncertainty era, we have adapted his saying as, "In common sense we trust, even though everyone brings data, specifically their own diverse interpretation of data." Leading computer scientists, psychologists, and mathematicians at world-leading programs recognize key limitations of artificial intelligence, that is AI, in terms of construction of meaning and its lack of what we know as quote-unquote common sense, something we established and published over 20 years ago. EML Exchange meta portals provide an archetype of interactive technology to enable your knowing, building, monetizing of digital technologies, including AI, ML, DL, cyber, crypto, quant, and quantum. To help you make its effective use, you can download and use the video guide and e-learning guide. These provide overview of the contents and capabilities that are accessible to you. In addition to meta search and meta portals, EML Exchange drop-down menus help you navigate from fundamentals to advanced applied learning and doing related to application, development, and deployment of above technologies. From within LinkedIn, you can access all the links that are published here in the short form as LinkedIn short URLs. These help you gain access to many other articles, insights, and knowledge that you can readily apply in your living, learning, and doing. The mission of EML Exchange Venture is stated as do something epic, save the world. And we literally mean it. As observed in the Pentagon, Government Accountability Office, US Navy, FBI, and other national security and Pentagon reports, the same AI technologies that enable automation and connectivity also make the systems more vulnerable to cyber attacks. That is a key issue for many of our diverse DoD assets, including our global aircraft carriers, spaceships, and the aircraft fighters. In worst scenario, such capabilities in the context of global nuclear command and control can be compromised by adversaries, which may result in annihilation of the human civilization. Hence, building AI and quantum technologies responsibly based on a balanced understanding of strengths and parts, as well as the risks and limitations, is critical. That is what we advocate for organizations such as Pentagon and DoD joint forces to apply. Command and control plays a vital role in self-regulation of systems, from global, national, and organizational systems to individual, human, and cellular systems. Hence, we champion for sustenance and survival of critical systems and functions through cyber crypto resilience in their design, development, and deployment. Our C4I-Cyber USAF Ventures lead the USA beyond data protection to global command and control resiliency in the context of COVID-19 global pandemic. Specific focus on DevTech, FinTech, and Biotech is provided therein to help you advance your knowledge, learning, living, and doing capabilities. Leading the global battle for survival and sustainability when fortress battleships to fortress balance sheets are under adversarial attacks. In the context of ABMS JAD C2, C4I-Cyber is contributing to the development of a faster, better, cheaper ABMS2 for global national defense and national security. Our contributions are anticipated to advance global CEOs, CXOs, and teams beyond prediction, black swans, and uncharted territories in the post-COVID-19 era, while helping them fight invisible enemies and invisible risks across diverse domains, including defense, healthcare, and finance, among others. COVID-19 is one such example for which we also provide one of the authoritative and curated time-indexed archives of key developments, insights, and discussions, which you can access from AML Exchange by typing COVID-19 and searching on it. At the Quantum Defense Summit with the New York Congressman on US House Committee on Armed Services, I discussed my proposal shown on this slide. I proposed development of the federal ecosystem into world-leading AML, DL, and quantum computing adversarial and counter-adversarial command and control hub. Such capabilities are critical for preempting and preventing command and control attacks, such as from invisible risks and invisible enemies threatening worldwide survival, as all of us have seen over the recent 2 years. My related white paper, addressed to the US Senate, entitled Beyond Data Protection to Command and Control Sustainability in a Post-COVID-19 World, is shown on this slide. It was a key development in the C4I-Cyber venture, advancing the USA beyond data protection to C2 resilience and sustainability. Global contagion risks of COVID-19 provided a baseline for comparing similar invisible attacks on global network systems, infrastructures, and networks, leading to global systemic exponential cascading attacks. Command and controls were examined as the most essential defining attributes of any self-adaptive system and its self-identity, self-regulation, and self-direction, ranging from national economies to individuals and even cellular systems. Following our development and publication of cybersecurity and penetration testing standards and curriculum development guidance, we proposed development and deployment of adversarial C2 systems to stress test the robustness of command and control for respective systems, as well as counter-adversarial command and control systems to counter the adversarial threats. Our latest global command and control network venture, being developed as a USF venture, C4I-Cyber, fulfills this mission. Advancing upon my Princeton University presentations on model risk management and black hat model risk arbitrage, from a purely economics and optimization standpoint, one can recognize that there's a greater payoff in breaking AI and quantum computing technologies than defending them. It is many more times easier to break systems, particularly large-scale complex systems, than to defend such systems. Hence, it is not a surprise that botnet-driven ransomware attacks have been persisting and increasing over the last decade, as we also see in some of the recent headlines I've shared from the recent few weeks. Our contextual US Air Force focus is on ABMS, which stands for the Advanced Battle Management System, and Joint All-Domain Command and Control, abbreviated as JADC2. Described as the new American way of war to yield significant advantage over everybody in the world for a long time by the Joint Staff Chiefs Vice Chair General John Hyten, this system helps us go beyond and look at what we need to be over the next 10 to 20 years. Advancing beyond AI and quantum supremacy hype, we present how the hacker focus leads beyond command and control to adversarial command and control and counter-adversarial command and control, enabled by C4I-Cyber and electromagnetic spectrum, acronym being EMS, based control doctrine to counter challenges posed by adversaries' unrestricted warfare. The Advanced Battle Management System, or ABMS, allows a joint force to use cutting-edge methods and technologies to rapidly collect, analyze, and share information and make decisions in real time. The image shown here depicts the digitization, standardization, and integration of the joint forces digital architecture standards, joint sensors, connectivity, secure processing of data and apps, and AI at global and edge cases and joint effects. The related JADC2, or Joint All-Domain Command and Control, is the concept that connects sensors and actors from all domains shown earlier and all branches of service onto a single network. This is essentially what we have described as a network-centric computing paradigm. As shown on this slide pictorial, the JADC2 envisions providing cloud-like environment to share C4I-Cyber and related ISR, intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance communities to enable data collection, analysis, decision-making, and execution enabled by AI algorithms. We envision beyond the tyranny of physics based on atoms, as characterized by some Air Force leaders, anticipating conquering the tyranny by focusing instead on the digital energy of C4I-Cyber, EMS, for building faster, better, cheaper ABMS2, wherein an adversarial threat, such as a hypersonic missile, instead of triggering a multi-domain kill chain across air, space, land, sea, ground, and cyber-based assets, of the expensive and latency causing, quote unquote, hardware for terminating the threat, is instead simply electronically controlled in the C4I-Cyber crypto EMS, lightning fast, everywhere reaching electronic domains only, and manipulated and directed back to terminate the threat launching adversary. This is more discussed in more detail in the white paper, which I have shared in this presentation. We advance ABMS JADC2 beyond automation to process innovation for real-time performance, the purported target of many of related systems. In doing so, we also advance beyond the much hyped notions of geopolitical, national AI supremacy and quantum supremacy. Our proposed alternative, C4I-Cyber C2 EMS, simply exploits available and future hardware, software, network, and other vulnerabilities, which are the weakest links in the network, for devising most optimal and economic solutions. Such solutions not only result in terminating the adversarial threat, such as a hypersonic missile, but also enable adversarially controlling and manipulating such threats to liquidate the originating adversary. Effectively, we urge the DoD and Joint Forces leaders to think beyond mere automation if they are not already doing so. Because automation could simply automate outdated business processes and workflows which were suited for fighting the wars of the past. Instead, what we need is real e-agility, which is the prime target of many of these paradigms devised by the Department of Defense leaders. E-agility compatible with today's dynamic and adversarial uncertainty and complexity. E-agility is the concept which we pioneered going back more than 20 years, as you see from this presentation, which you can download by clicking on the shown image in the PDF version of the slide, accessible from my SSL page. Hence, we need to think about virtualizing the product in addition to the virtualization of the respective processes and channels. Merely digital re-engineering of the acquisition processes to create physics atoms-based planes may not represent the most economic or optimal solutions to the modern warfare challenges being posed by our greatest adversaries. Consider for a moment the reach, range, and impact of a plane, a fighter plane, or a drone, or the aircraft carrier versus the hacker who can access that plane or the aircraft carrier and drones and acquire their command and control from anywhere instantly at almost lightning speed in real time. First, it is encouraging to observe that the top Joint Force Services leaders are recognizing the specific need for a different doctrine beyond the traditional legacy lethality doctrine, and also recognize that they will need to use different technologies since they are engaging with different organizations in the current era than they did in the prior wars and battles. We have proposed the control doctrine to tackle unrestricted warfare launched by our adversaries, as well as specifically focused on the respective technologies of the invisible C4I-Cyber crypto EMS domains to tackle the 24/7 everywhere wars which are threatening our national and global survival of the governments, enterprises, and organizations. It is also encouraging to see specific risk management focus of top Pentagon leaders as the Global Risk Management Network, LLC, leading global uncertainty and risk management practices. Accelerate change or lose vision, as articulated by our US chief, is crucial, as we not only need to catch up with the adversaries who have redefined the art of war, quote unquote, again. We have pioneered accelerating change with our global digital practices adopted and followed by top DoD leaders as well as CIOs of Joint Force Services 2 decades ago. We have also developed specific guidance and practices for strategic and tactical execution by advancing beyond data, beyond models, and beyond algorithms over the last couple of decades, which we are sharing in this presentation. We advance global practices beyond data with a focus on anticipation of surprise. Related interviews published in CIO magazine over 2 decades ago focus on such issues, and we have seen our global clients and patrons, such as Goldman Sachs, actively adopting such practices as well. The anticipation of surprise framework is stated as follows. This framework is based on an article published by a chief learning officer from GE, who subsequently became CLO of Goldman Sachs. And this article served as the basis for building the R&D program, whose practices we have seen being applied by companies like Goldman Sachs subsequently. Simply speaking, the future is moving so quickly that you can't anticipate it. Hence, we have put a tremendous emphasis on quick response instead of planning. We will continue to be surprised, but we won't be surprised that we are surprised. We will anticipate the surprise. Hence, Instead of predicting based on historical data or anticipating the future by projecting the past, we need to be more aware of the variances which the future will bring compared to past, and accordingly prepare to accept and manage those variances which are listed here as surprise. We have advanced the global digital practices beyond data with a focus on anticipation of surprise with our quantitative methods and models innovations. Therefore, subsequently, models and data and quantitative methods have been our focus for last 20 years and more. But specifically, our recent Princeton University presentations have pioneered model risk management and black hat model risk arbitrage practices to advance the practitioners across domains such as defense, finance, and healthcare beyond risk modeling to uncertainty and risk management, by additionally offering methods and models to advance beyond probabilistic modeling, which has known limitations already recognized in all these domains. We advance the global digital practices beyond algorithms with a focus on sense making for a non-deterministic world in the context of the MIT Management Leadership Industry Executives Program, for which we served as AI faculty subject matter expert and industry expert. Related articles and presentations are accessible from above links and images, and also from my SSRN author page. After leading the Wall Street hedge funds beyond the global financial crisis, our R&D and practices advanced to focus on the invisible risks concentrated in the global electromagnetic spectrum, or EMS networks, and global telecommunications networking protocols. These have been the focus of our R&D leading practices in addition to other practices over the last 10 years or so. Related R&D has contributed to advancing industry practices at Princeton University conferences. The 3 annual presentations are accessible from my SSRN page as well as from prior related slides. It is also encouraging to observe growing recognition of the joint forces leaders about the critical role of the C4I-Cyber command and control capabilities, in addition to the related crypto EMS capabilities. The specific recognition of EMS across domains is evident in the above commander's observation that if we do not dominate the spectrum, we will lose across all domains. In addition, the specific emphasis of our proposed control doctrine, spanning both social sciences as well as computing and network sciences domains, is also evident in the detail of the Joint Staff EMS Superiority Strategy document shown in the slide right here. The similar focus on the DoD EMS superiority strategy is evident at the top leadership level, at the level of Vice Chairman or the Joint Chiefs of Staff, as articulated in the DoD electromagnetic spectrum superiority strategy, accessible from the above slide. Incidentally, I published my LinkedIn social network guidance to advance beyond much hyped AI supremacy and command and control supremacy just a week before the public release of the above DoD EMS strategy document. Despite the different modalities of war, some seeking to cause lethal destruction, while others based on stealth and deception, aiming to quote unquote win a war without firing a single bullet, the outcomes are often of global and national geopolitical and economic import. Hence, it is not surprising to find amongst adversary top leaders adept on most economic impact of warfare strategy, given that they are able to derive outsized economic and military impact and gains despite much lower financial investments relatively. In that context, it is encouraging to see the top joint services leaders focus on the ROI of specific investments in terms of resulting impact, such as observing that EMS could be a cheaper option to defeat enemies. One of the key tenets of control doctrine is to win by control, which can be executed via social influence in case of human agents, as well as EMS command and control in case of artificial agents, AI, and bots. If you have superior control capabilities via social influence in case of human agents, as well as EMS command and control in case of artificial agents, such as including AI, you can control other agents to comply with your commands. The same holds for robots based on hardware or software. All of the warfighting machines, whether they are the latest fighter jets, spaceships, or satellites, are in fact robots, which are controlled by their semiconductor chips, commanded via global airspace, land, sea-based telecom network systems. As you see on this slide, the F-35 fighter jet is simply a computer that happens to fly. With the network-centric computing, where the weakest link can not only take the network, but every asset on the network is critical to understanding the latest paradigm of modern warfare. So that those that have the best command and control capabilities will be able to take over the control of human agents, artificial agents, and war-fighting robots. It doesn't matter who makes her own robots. What matters is who controls them. The United States of America, currently under unprecedented semiconductor chip shortage, retains only 12% of the global semiconductor manufacturing capacity, down from 37% in 1990, as per the 2020 Semiconductor Industry Association report. 75% of world's chip manufacturing comes out of Asia, with China positioned to be the largest chip producer by 2030. These facts are alarming as well as interesting, needing immediate action and response. Even the most advanced aircraft that plan to rely upon autonomous drone capabilities for the frontline wars, such as shown here with the command control, big aircrafts, and related drone swarms going to the front lines, they will be reliant not only upon command and control, but more critically upon the adversarial command control, as well as the counter-adversarial command control, as they come under heavy attacks from the adversaries' ground-based systems, as well as the air and space-based systems, including drones and adversarial drone swarms. The smartest scientists at world-leading programs have acknowledged that AI, lacking sense-making capability, would necessitate what we have understood as smart minds for using smart tools smartly. Adversaries already recognize that the hacker is the more powerful as compared to the nuclear bomb, which is amply evident over the last decade, given their world-leading pace of progress and prowess economically, militarily, and technologically. Despite less than 1/3 defense budget in absolute terms in the recent year, and less than 8% on per capita basis. Journals such as the MIT's Technology Review already acknowledge that hackers will be the weapon of choice of governments. In fact, one could infer that they already are and have been over the last decade or so. Adversaries already recognize that the best way to achieve victory is to control and not to destroy assets, external as well as internal assets, quote unquote, as noted elsewhere. Based upon the prior discussion, one can recognize increasingly critical role of the command and control capabilities, in particular the adversarial and counter-adversarial command and control capabilities, in enabling and sustaining high-tech capabilities and technologies such as AI and quantum computing, in air, space, and outer space, as well as other domains, including land, sea, etc. My related keynote presentation at an international quantum engineers and PhDs expert panel, Space for Women, S4W, expert panel, is accessible in my SSRN papers, as well as the related video presentation and discussions by other esteemed panel members, further highlighting the points made herein. Despite discussions about the quantum computing capabilities representing potential threats to classic encryption, quantum and post-quantum computing techniques and technologies have yet to demonstrate the real power in the field, as noted by many of the pioneers including MIT's Peter Shor, who is shown here. Also, it is important to recognize that not only classical but quantum cryptographic schemes have well-known vulnerabilities and have been demonstrated to be susceptible to various kinds of attacks. Having built and led offensive and defensive network security plus program, led State of New York leading digitized government in developing and executing zero trust architectures and network segmentation, leading others, and delivered Princeton, New York State, and other presentations leading and building related cyber crypto quantum practices. Our R&D is contributing to the next generation of encryption technologies development, building upon Shannon's information theory and other computer science literatures. Some of our related expert papers and presentations that are pushing the boundaries of encryption beyond current known paradigms of classical and quantum computing, cryptography and encryption are listed on this page, which can be downloaded from respective these LinkedIn hyperlinks, as well as from my SSRN author page. One example of how our beyond data, beyond models, and beyond algorithms frameworks, methods, and models are applicable across diverse domains, including the domains of defense, finance, and healthcare, in which they have been applied, is available on this slide. The industry white paper shown on this slide was written in my role as a chief scientist and AF Works principal investigator lead for a US biomedical firm, launched by a Pentagon chief technology officer, which focused on COVID mitigation, and it is accessible from the above link and also from my SSRN author page. Based upon prior discussions of practices, technologies, ventures, and networks, our current use of federal ventures are enabling survival and sustainability against existential invisible risks, following our tradition as the world-leading digital social enterprise, born on the web and born in the cloud. While I was working on my PhD and built this on the side, we have advanced further as a professor, scholar, practitioner. And our public service mission as a digital social enterprise had guided most of the ventures which I have discussed in this presentation. The C4I-Cyber network is envisaged to enable global knowledge sharing and application in advancing future risk engineering driven digital practices on advanced technologies, including AI and quantum computing, given a focus on the adversarial domain of defense and space. Insights from this presentation can be applied across many other industries. For instance, C4I-Cyber venture chronicled the learning while doing and development of practices as they were learned, unlearned, and applied, such as the case of aircraft carrier, fortress battleship laid ashore by the COVID-19. As we follow latest updates, we recognize the critical role of command and control on a global scale and the criticality of invisible risks that will increasingly challenge the mightiest ships, battleships, and spaceships going into the future. It is also anticipated to occur as recent technologies such as blockchain and cloud computing, on which we have led and guided CEO, CXO industry leaders and practices, are applied to enable the ABMS2 and JADC2 advancements for the Pentagon's military Internet of Things, or IoT, which I've also presented on at Princeton University. So how can we get ahead of the hype that characterizes any of the new technologies, such as in the case of AI and quantum computing? First, our focus on championing the necessity for building resilience through risk engineering, driving AI implementations, such as via AML exchange. We have already been doing so. The above slide highlights one of the AI pioneer, Michael Jordan, who explains why today's AI systems aren't actually intelligent, the point which has been echoed underscored by many other pioneers, including Jeffrey Hinton, Judea Pearl, and Gary Marcus in recent years. In fact, we had originally published similar insights 20 years ago in the AI machine learning paper published in the Expert Systems with Applications Journal. You can download that paper, top rank for the journal, from my publications page, as well as related papers and presentations, SSRN, that are currently advancing research and practices after 25 years. In the context of quantum computing, we are privileged to keep abreast of latest advances given many of our pioneering academics, researchers, practitioners. Specific issues where we see potential quantum sense-making data processing are highlighted here, with focus on quantum uncertainty and time and space complexity. These are critical issues going into the future, specifically with the Department of Defense and Pentagon, to really understand and apply, given these challenges are seeming to be the critical enablers of the competitive advantage they are seeking over adversaries. Therefore, I shall move on to the focus on adversarial era, and we have discussed how to go beyond data models and algorithms. Therefore, I will not repeat that here for the sake of time. Thank you, and we have about 10 minutes remaining, and I open this discussion now for questions. Thank you.